Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Creating Storybooks with Google Slides. This session is part of a series of free webinars offered every week or two by the Stark Portage Area Computer Consortium, or SPARC for short. SPARC is an information technology center up here in Northeast Ohio where we support about 30 school districts. However, this webinar is open to everyone, and we'd like to welcome all the people who have joined us live today or are watching this recording in the future. My name is Eric Kurtz, and I'm a technology integration specialist here at SPARC, and I'll be your presenter for this session today. I am joined by my colleague, Anthony Luscre, who will be monitoring the chat doc. More info on that in just a second. All of the information for today's webinar can be found at the address you see on the screen here, tiny.cc/SPARC 237. SPARC is spelled S-P-A-R-C-C. So if you go to that link, that will take you out to this web page, which is probably where you're at already if you're watching it live. Now, if you're watching recorded, it's possible you're on YouTube, and so you definitely do want to go to this page. Again, that is tiny.cc/SPARC, S-P-A-R-C-C 237. That will take you out to this page where you will see the live video for those of you that are watching it live. Others can see the recorded video there. And then below there, let me zoom in just a little bit here so you can see it's a little bit better. Below there, you'll see all of the session resources, and we'll be talking about those throughout the session here today. There's a slideshow and a template and a help guide and some examples all there for you guys to use. Below there is the live session chat doc. So if you want to participate in the session today, please give a click on that chat document there. And it's going to open up a Google Doc where you can type in any questions or suggestions or ideas that you have. Anthony is going to be monitoring that doc throughout the session, and he'll be providing answers. But hey, you guys can help each other as well. If there's something that somebody asks and you've got an answer for, we can all work together on that. That's fantastic. Below there is a link to the session evaluation. So afterwards, hey, love to get your feedback. If you don't mind taking a real quick form there, filling that out to let us know how we can improve these sessions for you in the future. And then lastly, something for you. How about earning a certificate of attendance for watching this webinar? Yep, that is how it works. Just watch the webinar and then take this very brief quiz afterwards. And if you pass the quiz, you'll be sent a PDF certificate of attendance for one contact hour to turn into your LPDC or whatever your school might use for professional development. While you're on the website, good time to check out just a few other things there. We do have a PD schedule showing all of our upcoming webinars. We also have a link for our recorded trainings. We've got over 30 some at this point, loads and loads of those there. Definitely check those out. There's also a newsletter you can sign up for to stay in the loop on everything that we're doing here. And then finally, there's our contact info if you need to get in touch with me or Anthony. And oh, Anthony's picture's not coming up again. Well, maybe it'll pop up here in a second. But yeah, Anthony's being shy today. Our contact info is there if you need to get in touch with us. But other than that, all of the resources, like we said, for this session today can be found at tiny.cc/SPARC 237. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. You guys already know about me, so we will move on. Our agenda for today is we're going to start with a very brief overview of Google Slides, and then we're going to spend the majority of our time talking about creating storybooks with slides. After that, when we've got a book created, we're going to talk about sharing the completed product, different options students would have for sharing that. And then the very end, a special thing about what if you want to narrate your story? What if you want your students to be able to narrate it? What options do they have for that? So we're going to look at a neat solution that hopefully will address that for you. So that's our agenda for this session. As far as what you need to be successful, basically, as long as you've got a Google account and access to slides, you're in good shape. This is an introductory session, so if you've never done much with slides, you should pick up pretty quick on what we're doing. All right, so let's go ahead and get going with the session. Fantastic. Again, everything can be found at tiny.cc/SPARC, S-P-A-R-C-C 237. All right, so real quick Google Slides overview, in case maybe you've never really done much with Google Slides. Basically, Google Slides is a piece of the Google Drive suite of programs. So if you're used to Google Drive, you're probably familiar with Google Docs, other things like Google Sheets, Google Forms, Google Drawings. Well, Google Slides is one piece of that suite of programs. It's a multimedia presentation tool that's similar to Microsoft PowerPoint. So if you've ever done anything with PowerPoint, you know exactly what we're talking about here. In fact, you're looking at a Google slideshow right now. The thing I'm running here on the screen, that is a Google slideshow. So you're experiencing one right now as we talk about it. And so Google Slides is great. You can insert all sorts of things into your slides. You can add slides. You can put text on them, images, videos, shapes, tables, all kinds of things. You can add animations and transitions. And of course, because it's Google Apps, everything can be shared. So anything you create as a slideshow, you can share with others so they can either edit it or view it. Fantastic. Okay, so that's the, like I told you, be very quick. And that is the very brief overview of what Slides is all about. Now today, though, we're going to talk about doing something different with Slides, because normally Google Slides, well, it's used for presentations, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. You know, maybe you as a teacher up front doing a lesson and you're using slides to go through the points of your lesson, or it could be the students are doing a book talk or a report on an explorer or an animal or something like that, and they're using a slideshow to go through that. That's great. Nothing wrong with that at all. If that's what you're doing with it, fantastic. Glad you are doing that. However, having said that, Google Slides can be used for a lot more than just that. We've actually done webinars on other uses of slides. So if you want to look at those, if we head over to our recorded trainings, just to point that out to you. I've done a couple here. I did one on creating comic strips with Google Slides, and another one on creating interactive slideshows for choose your own adventure stories, for interactive quizzes, for Jeopardy games, things like that. So there's a lot of other creative ways you can use slides besides just a straightforward presentation. Well, we're going to add one more to that list today, and that is what I'm calling a storybook. I mean, I guess you could call it whatever you want, but basically a story that typically has pictures in it and, you know, text to go along with the pictures, a storybook, creating that with Google Slides. Now, normally when we think about writing, student writing, you think about Google Docs, and that makes sense. Perfect, you know, sure. Student's going to write a story, they're going to type it up in Docs. That's fine. That's certainly fine. But it doesn't always have to be that way. Writing does not have to be limited to just a word processor. In this case, we're going to talk about how Google Slides could be used for student writing, in this case, making a storybook. And what's nice about that is, first of all, it can be in a book format, you know, kind of like if you think of a book you might have, you know, read to your children, which usually they're longer or wider than they are tall, and you know, you can open up page by page. It's got great pictures. It's got a story along with it. With slides, each slide could be a different page of the storybook. And so as you flip through the slides, you're turning the pages of the storybook. That's cool. You can also really make it engaging with images and colors and fonts and all sorts of other things that you put onto those slides. And of course, like we keep saying, it can be shared. Anything that we create in Google Slides doesn't have to be a story that's just turned into the teacher for a grade. It can go out to a much broader audience in a number of ways. And we'll talk about that as we go through this. Now, as an example, I've got a couple of these that I went ahead and created just so you'd see a little bit of an idea of what I'm talking about here. Now, fair warning, I wrote each of these. These are actually poems, kind of silly poems I wrote many, many years ago. Although I am a tech integration person and I love computers and love technology and all that, I also love writing, writing all kinds of things, stories and poems and essays and all kinds of stuff like that. And one of the things I've always loved to write is more like humorous poetry. And so that's what these are from. So fair warning, they're probably a little bit silly, but if you've ever liked things like Shel Silverstein and people like that, that's sort of the idea behind that. So I'll just show you a couple quick examples here. We won't really go through and read everything here. I'll just show you the idea of what a final product could look like. So for example, my pickup has hiccups. That was one of my favorites. Go ahead and open that up real quick. And so there you have your storybook. And so the first slide is the cover page. So there's the cover of your storybook. And as I click through it, notice what will happen. It'll turn the page, so to speak. So a transition will move from right to left to bring in the new page. And so I've got, you know, a little bit of the poem, and then I've got piece of clip art to go along with it. Turn the next page. Now the text is on the top, the clip art's on the bottom. And notice you can also use cool fonts. It doesn't have to be just Arial or Times New Roman. I've gone with some creative font choice for this particular one. And as you keep going through, page by page keeps turning. You can have the text in different spots, the image in different spots, and keep going. You can read this on your own if you want. If you're interested in it, please feel free to actually go through and read the poem if you want. I'm just going to flip through it. And then finally, there we get to the end of the poem. And then there's the back cover, the about the author section. So the student could have their picture there and a little blurb about themselves. And that's it. That's kind of the idea. I mean, that's sort of what we're shooting for. That's the end result that we're going to try to achieve here as we go through this today. So if you're curious about what it is we're doing, that's kind of what we want the kids to spit out in the end. Now, I did a poem here. It doesn't have to be a poem. Obviously, it could be a fictional story. It could be nonfiction. It could be something biographical. But the point is, the idea is to sort of follow something like that, where you've got page after page of text and pictures. You've got a cover, and then you've also got an about the author page on the end. All right, I got two other ones there, but again, you can check those out yourself if you'd like to see some other examples. They're also linked in on the main page for today. So below the video, if you go down, you'll see those same examples are linked in there as well. All right, well, now that we kind of have an idea of what we're doing, let's do it. All right, so let's get into actually creating a storybook. So first thing first, you've got a few options when you first get started here. And I'm going to talk about three of them: using a template, or using a template I provided, or using one from another service, or creating from scratch. So those are sort of three options for getting started here. Now, if you do want to create from scratch, that's fine. Okay, creating from scratch is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I'm not going to do that today. I'm actually going to use my pre-made template here. But just so you have an understanding of how that could be done, if I wanted to, if I did say, you know what, I just want to start from scratch here, sure, I could go to my Google Drive. So simply go to drive.google.com. So either type in drive.google.com, or you can open up a new tab and go to your waffle button up here in the top right-hand corner and choose Google Drive from there, and that will get you there as well. And once you do get, let me zoom in here a bit, once you do get to Google Drive, you could click the New button, and you could say, I want to make a new Google slide. Now, again, I'm not going to do that today. I'm actually going to make a copy of that template. I'm just letting you know, you don't have to. You could go to your Drive, and you could go to the New button, go down to New Google Slide, and you could create just a blank, start from scratch Google slideshow, and that's perfectly fine. There's no problem with that at all. If that's the way you'd like to begin, or if that's how you want your students to begin, that's great. Now, if you do choose to do that, keep in mind, if you're going from scratch, you can still pick your color theme. And there's lots of themes down here on the side. You see there's simple, light, and dark. And then if you keep going down the list, there's lots of different themes there that you can pick from. You might want to just stick with simple light, though, simply because most times you think of a storybook, you think of white paper with, text on it and pictures, and simple light is going to just be white pages, and you can add stuff to it as you go. So you might want to do that as your theme. But again, totally up to you. Again, I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to use a template, but you could start from scratch. So that's one of the options. The other option, like I said, is there are other template sites. We're going to use I'm going to use my template, but there are other template sites. If you've never used Slides Carnival, that's a great website. I'll just go there for a moment so you can see it. Slides Carnival, they have free, totally free Google Slides templates. If you come here, you can browse through some of their newer ones. If you go up to all templates, you can scroll down through all the ones they've got. I don't even know how many they have now. They've got page after page after page of these. So I don't know. Well, here's one. Here's a Halloween one. Let's say your story was a Halloween story. Well, maybe you want a really cool Halloween template for your storybook. Oh, well, come here to Slides Carnival, click on their Halloween template, and at that point, it'll show you their template here. And if you scroll through, you can see all the different pages they've created. The point being that you could then copy these pages and use them however you might want to. You wouldn't have to use every slide they've got here. You could delete the ones you don't want and duplicate the ones you do want. They've got a big button down there below to click to make a copy of that template if you do want to use their template. So Slides Carnival is a great place. Having said that, though, like I said, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to go with a pre-made template, and you are certainly free to use this one as well. It is right below the video as well. If you go down below the live video, you'll see that the storybook template is right there. In the slideshow, it's linked in right here. I'm going to click on that guy to open it up. All right, so here is the storybook template. Now, it doesn't look like much. It's not, all that fancy, but it's a really good skeletal structure to begin with. Basically, it's got two different types of title pages where you've got an area for a picture on the side or an area for a picture above. And then it's got four different types of text pages: text on the left, the right, the top, or the bottom. So the idea is the story would be on the left and a picture would be over here on the right. And so it's already got those created. And then on the last page, it has the about the author. Again, the student's picture would go here and they could put their info in here. So the point is, this kind of gives you a jump start. So especially if you're working with really little kids, this would be a great project for younger children. And if they don't have all the skills that you might hope for Google Slides, this could kind of scaffold them or get them going into there. Now, if they're older students, again, maybe they want to start totally from scratch and build it without a template. That's fine. But today I'm going to use this just to show you how it could be used. Now, keep in mind, this is view only. You can't change the original template. You guys have to make a copy of the template. So how does that work? Well, let me zoom in so you can see a little bit better. Up here, way up here in the top left, there is a file button that if you click that, or file menu, if you click that, you can choose make a copy. And so you can make a copy of this template, or really any of the templates from Slides Carnival as well. But from here, just click File, Make a Copy. It's going to ask you to give it a name. Now you can call it whatever you want. I could call it Storybook Example for Webinar. You call yours whatever you want. When I hit OK, I now get my own copy of that template that I can edit. So this is my copy. It's private just to me. And I'll zoom out a bit. Now I'm zoomed in a little too far on there. Zoom out a little bit anyway. And of course, I can close out of that template. I don't need the template anymore because I've made my own copy of it. All right. And so, again, you go whichever way you want to go. But for my demonstration today, I'm going to use this template. And you're certainly free to use it today and in the future with your students. Not a problem at all. If that's helpful for you, please do. All right. So that's sort of how we get started. Decide how you want to get going. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start running through using the template or using your blank slideshow and talk about some things we might want to consider. So one of the first things we may want to consider is, now that we've got a slideshow started, how big should each slide be? Well, it kind of depends upon what you want to do. Are you thinking you might want to print this out? If so, you'll probably want to set up the slides to be the actual size of a piece of paper. And there's lots of options. You could do like a letter sized 8.5 by 11, or you could do legal 8.5 by 14, or you don't even have to. Maybe you're saying, I'm never going to actually print this. It's just going to stay digital. If that's the case, then don't worry about it. You can just skip this whole step. But if you are thinking about printing it out, you may want to consider the page setup. If you go to File and Page Setup and then Custom, you can set it to the size you want. Now, I've already done that for our template. So if you're using our template, guess what? You don't even have to do that either. It's already been done. But I'll go ahead and show you. If I go to File and I go to Page Setup at the bottom, and then I go to Custom, well, there it is. 14 by 8.5. So 8.5 by 14. I've set this to be like a legal page. So if you were to print this out, it would come out like a legal sized page. But again, you can change that to whatever size you want and it will adjust for you. All right. So that's something to consider. All right. Next up, the cover page. Time to make our cover. So again, if you're using the template that I've got, we're just going to edit it. If not, you can start with a blank, slide, and you could throw all these items in. You can add text boxes to put in the title and the author's name. You can add images and shapes and word art. You can add whatever you might want to this. All right, so I've got to decide, do I want the title with the title on the side and the picture on the right, or the title on the bottom and the picture up here? I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to go with one where I put the picture over on the right and I put the title over here on the left. Now for my example today, I'm going to go with a very, very short story. It's just it's not a poem or anything like that. Just a very, very, very short story, like three pages long, about a puppy. So maybe this is a young student writing a story, and so this is a very simple story about a puppy. We're going to keep it very simple today. And so for my title, I'm just going to title it The Runt. That'll be the title of the story, because this puppy's going to be the runt of the litter. And for the author, just putting my name by Eric. Now we're going to gussy this up in a little bit. It's going to look fancier, but for right now, I'm just putting in the basics. So I'm going to go with a title of The Runt and by Eric. Now that means I don't need this slide. This one that has the title at the bottom, I don't even need it because I'm using this one. So if you don't need a slide, you can right click on it and say delete. You can click on it and press the delete key on your keyboard. It's really up to you how you want to get rid of it, but you don't need it anymore. So you can get rid of that slide, whichever one you're not using. All right, so hopefully you guys have thrown in a sample title, even if it's just to play around with, but throw a title in. All right, so we've done that. Oh, there's an example from my Pickup Has Hiccups. We've seen that one. All right, so we've got a title in. Well, what else do we need? Well, we need a picture. Yeah, you should have a nice, cool picture there on the front of your cover. And there's a lot of ways to add images to Google Slides. So again, if you've not used slides, prepare yourself. There's tons of options here, and we're going to kind of run through these real quick just so you can see what they are and then pick the one you like. So there's the insert image option, the research tool, and the drag and drop option. So let's run through these real quick. The first option to add a picture to a slide is using the insert menu. If you click insert and then image. So if I come here to my slide and I click insert and then image, what it does is it pops up this screen where I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 options to add an image to my slide. Those options are uploading. So the first option is if you have something saved to your desktop or flash drive or hard drive somewhere, you can upload pictures to it. That's fine. The second option is to take a snapshot. Hey, there I am. Wow. Okay. And so you can just use your webcam, and don't you like all those Google things behind me? Oh, there they are. All my Google posters. That's awesome. So you can just take a snapshot. And so the student could be taking pictures of themselves. Maybe they're writing a story about emotions and they just want to take pictures of themselves doing smiles and frowns and stuff like that. So that would work fine. Just use the webcam, boom, take that. Now, if your webcam isn't working, usually there's like a pop-up that asks you to give it permission. So you might have to do that. All right, next one is by URL. That means if you have a link to a picture, you can paste that link in. That'll work. The next one is your albums. By your albums, that means your Google photo album. So if you use photos.google.com, if you're not using it, this will be blank. But if you're using Google Photos at photos.google.com, this is where all of those photo albums are at. The next option over is Google Drive. If you have images saved on your drive, you can grab them from there. Just scroll down to find your images and grab them. That's fine. And the final option is search. You can just type in a search term. So if I was looking for dog clip art, because this is about a puppy, I could just run a search for dog clip art, and hopefully I would find some clip art I could use there. Okay, so all of those are fine. You can use any of those options. I'm not going to use one of those because I want to show you the others as well, but you could. Any of those are perfectly fine to add an image to your slide. I'm going to cancel out of that and show you another option. So that's the first one. Use insert, then image, boom, you're good to go with 6 options there. The next option is using the research tool. Now this one I think is really just convenient. It's really, really easy to use. If you go to tools and then research, you're going to get a pop-up on the side of your screen that allows you to type in your search term. And then there's a little filter button here where you can filter it down to just pictures. And if you find one you like, you just drag it right over and drop it right onto your slide. Pretty easy to use. So if I were here and I go up to the tools menu and I go to research, I get this pop-up over here where I could type in something again like dog clip art. And there's a little filter button at the front of that, right in front of where I typed my search term. I can click that little G and say I just want images, and it will give me all of these images. All I got to do is click and drag something over onto my slide. Now that's probably what I'm going to do. I think for this particular one, I'll actually do that. But before I do, I'll show you one more option, the third option. And the third option, instead of doing either the insert image or the research tool, is what we call drag and dropping. And so it turns out that Google Slides allows you to grab images from other websites and simply drag and drop them right onto your slide. So if you have a picture on any other website, it doesn't matter, whatever website it is, could be clip art, could be a photograph, whatever it is. If you click and hold down on the image and drag it over to your slide, you can drop it in there. Now, if you are looking for clip art, a site I like to use is openclipart.org. All of the clip art there is going to be open source, public domain, free clip art. So if I came in here and I typed in dog, and I found bunches of dogs, I could choose any of these dog images, and we'll just grab this one here. He looks kind of cute. And what I could do is, once I find that picture, I can click, hold down on the dog, and then drag it up to the tab that has my slideshow, and then drag it down to drop it into my slideshow. Okay, so let me show you how that works. If I take my mouse and I click and I hold down on the dog, don't let go, hold down, drag up to the tab that has my slideshow, then drag down onto my slideshow, and then let go, it'll actually drop that image right into my slide. Now it's kind of big. I can grab the little blue boxes to shrink it up, move it around until move it around until it's where I want it to be, make it a little bit larger. You get the idea. Now, again, I said I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to grab something from the research tool. But the point is that does work really well. So if you've got pictures on other sites, you can just drag and drop them over. I'm going to actually just delete him. So we'll come here and I will delete him out of there. All right, but definitely use that if you want to. I'm going to go ahead, though, and use the research tool. I think that's probably the easiest way for what I'm going to be doing today. So I'm going to go Tools, Research. We're going to find some dog clip art, and we'll reduce it down to just images. And I like this little guy here. He's cute. So I'm going to grab him and drag him over and drop him right onto my slide. And that's it. There he is. He's in my slide. I can close out of the research tool. I can move him around. He does come with a link. If you don't want the link, there's a remove button. Otherwise, that link tells you where the dog came from, sort of like for citation purposes. If you hit the remove button, though, it'll take that link off. And that's it. There he is. Let's stretch him out a little bit, make him bigger. Boom, ready to go. So there is my image for my cover. So far, so good. All right. So definitely feel free to use all those options: insert image, research tool, or drag and drop. Well, what else do we need to do on the cover? We've got our title, we've got the author, we've got our picture. What about our font? You can change your font if you want. By default, it's just going to be like Calibri or it's Arial. It's Arial by default, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You can leave it just as Arial. That's fine if you want. But you don't have to. You actually can choose from over 700 web fonts that Google provides. So what you can do is you can go to your font menu and then choose more fonts to select other fonts you would like to add. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Let me go ahead and I'll highlight this text. I'll just come here and highlight the text. And then if I come up to my font menu here, okay, you see where it says Arial. If I give a click on that, where it says Arial, I can choose from any other font that I've got installed here. And if I don't have a font that I'm looking for, there's a More Fonts button at the very bottom. So again, you just click the font button here and then go down until you get to More Fonts. And if you click that, it'll open up the Web Font Archive. At this point, you can search for loads of fonts. You can just scroll down through them, that's fine. Or you can use some of the filters, like you say, just show me the handwriting fonts, or just show me the display fonts. And you can scroll down through to find fonts you might like. So for example, this one here, I think it's called Comforta with 2 A's, or Comforta. That's a nice one. That's one I've used. It's a nice, easy to read, roundish type font. I could click on that font and say, yeah, I want to use that font. And once I choose that font and say, okay, it's going to add it to my list of fonts that I can choose from now. So I hit okay, and boom, now that's been updated. So instead of being in Arial, it's now in Comforta. for my font. And again, if I want to make it bigger, I could come in here and I could highlight that and say, let's make it a little bit larger so it kind of jumps up a little bit more on the page. That looks great. And I can even make my name bigger if I wanted to. You get the idea. Now, if you decide that you really like that font and you want to use it throughout the whole storybook, you're like, oh my gosh, do I have to do that on every single page? Do I? Well, you could. I mean, you could go to each page and you could change the text on each page to have that font. If you want to save a little time, now this is more advanced, so, you know, fair warning, if for really young kids, this may not be as easy for them, but you can actually do something called editing the slide master. And basically it's like the default settings for your slide. If you click slide and then edit master, you can reset the font, for example, for the whole entire slideshow all at one time. So basically you go to slide, edit master, select the master slide, select the text, change the font, exit from it, boom, everything's changed. I'll prove that to you. So here you see these are just regular old Arial on all these pages. Those are just Arial, okay? But if I go to slide and edit master, so under the slide menu, if I go to edit master, it brings up the slide master screen. What I do is I scroll to the top and choose the master slide because I want this to affect everything in the slideshow. So I'm not picking a specific layout. I go to the very top here and choose the master slide. Then I just want to grab all this text. Probably the easiest way is just to take my mouse and drag a box around it. That kind of selects it. If not, you can select them one at a time. Grab the title, grab the text next. That's okay. I'm just going to do a little box around both of them, so I grab them both. And now with all the text selected, if I go to my font menu, Comforta is there, or Comforta is there because I just added it a moment ago. I can choose that font. It updates the master slide, and then to get out of this, all I have to do is just click back over on my normal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 slides over here. Just click on these to jump out of it. And what do you know? Every slide now has Comforta as the font. And so in one fell swoop, you've updated the master for all of those. So there you go. All right. Now, if you really are a slide nut and you want to get into this, I've pulled out like 10 of my favorites here so you can see in the slide presentation. Things like Happy Monkey and Unkempt and Short Stack and Sniglet, and there's many more, but those are some of the ones that I think look really cool in a storybook. Or if you really want to browse these, you can go to Google's Font Archive at google.com/fonts. If you head on out to google.com/fonts, you can type in whatever text you want to use. You can enter your own, or you can go with the text they've got, change the size of it, so it's a little bit bigger, easier to see. And then you can scroll down through all the different fonts, or you can narrow them down again by category. So that's another way to look at all the fonts that are available and try to find some that you like. All right, enough about fonts. Okay, we're about ready to move on to adding pages, but I should say this before I leave this page. One other thing I might want to do. I've got the title, I've got the author, I've got the picture, I've got the font. What about the color of things? Now, I just threw in a very simple, like yellowish, light yellow background here. Well, it's not a background, it's a box. Whoops, move that, there we go. If you don't click in the text, if you actually click above the text, so if I click on the text, you'll see there's a text box. But if I click outside of that, just above it here, there's actually a box. It's just a rectangle. I went to Insert, Shape, and I put a rectangle in. That's all I did. That's nothing but a rectangle in the background. That's all that is, just a simple rectangle. And of course, you guys can do the same. You can go Insert, Shape, and you could insert all kinds of crazy shapes into there however you want. That's perfectly fine. Well, if you click and grab that box that I put there, you can change the color here. So it doesn't have to be a light yellow. It could be whatever color you want it to be. So how do you do that? Well, again, don't click on the text. That won't do it. You got to click outside of the text box. There we go. Grab the actual rectangle in the background. And then there's this paint can button up here. Give a click on the paint can, and you can pick whatever color you want. Maybe pick a color that matches the clip art over here. Maybe go a really dark color, and then you could make the text light, or a light color and leave the text dark. Just up to you. I think I'm going to go with a brown because the dog is kind of brown over here. So I'm going to go with this brown down here at the bottom. I think it's brown. It looks kind of brown. It says dark orange, but we'll pretend it's brown. And so I could change the box with that. And then you can even change the outline of the box. There's a line color button here next to it. So there's the fill and there's the line color. I could change that to the brown as well. So now I've got more of a color that stands out a bit. Now it is a little hard to see the text, so I could, of course, highlight my text. And then over here in the toolbar is my text color button. I could change my text maybe to a nice bright white, which will stand out on that dark brown. And there we go. There's my title page. Now, I know that took a little bit of time, but again, your students don't have to do all those things. They don't have to change the font. They don't have to change the colors. I'm just showing you some options if they want to. All right, let's keep going. So what do we need to do next? Now we need to actually put in the pages of our story. So again, I'm just going to do a couple of very, very quick pages, nothing fancy at all, just so you get the idea. So here's the point. Basically, the pages, I would suggest you have some text and an image. And as long as you've got a text and an image, you're pretty good. That's okay. That's probably all you got to do. Now, you can use the template pages I've got for text on the left, text on the right, text at the top, text at the bottom. And you can also duplicate these. If you need more than one page that has text on the left, you can make copies of these. Not a problem at all. To make a copy, you got a bunch of options. You could simply right-click and say duplicate slide. That'll work. That's probably one of the easiest ways to do it. Or there's the slide menu, slide and then duplicate slide. Or you could just do copy paste if you want to do that as well. So if I needed more than one of them on the left, I could just duplicate it. Now I could duplicate it now, or I can duplicate it after I type on it too. That doesn't hurt. Either way is fine. All right. So I'm going to go ahead. I've already pre-written the story to save some time. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste my text in. So I'm going to start with text on the left, and I will paste in my text. And that is a little small. I will bump this up. I'm going to go up to a larger font size. There we go. Okay, so there once was a litter of puppies. Every puppy got taken except for the runt. So now that's my text. Over here, I want my image. So I simply go to Tools, Research, find my dog clip art again. And again, you could choose whatever picture you guys are looking for here. I'm just going to use the same dog again. Drag him over, drop him in, and close out of the research. Now, if that's all I wanted, that's fine. I could be done right there. That could be the picture for that page. So every puppy got taken except for the runt. Or if I wanted to, I could get kind of fancy and I could copy and paste and have the whole litter showing up here, and then show him, not him being the small one. So I could have all of these, and I could keep pasting them, and I could put him at the bottom and shrink him up real small because he's the runt. There we go. And so it could be something like that too. It's really up to you. All right, so that's page 1 of my story. Let's go on to page 2. Page 2, let's do text on the right. So for this one, let me grab my text I've pre-written here, and let's paste in my text. And again, I'm going to make all my text bigger. If you have a lot of text, it's probably good to keep it small, but this is a very short story, so I'll make it a little bit bigger. One night, there was a fire in the house. The runt was scared and barked so loud, everyone woke up. All right, so let's go back to my research tool, and I need some fire clip art. So fire clip art. Let's get some fire clip art here, and we'll just do images, and we'll just grab this one and drag it over, and there we go. There's our fire, and that's good. All right, and now, so I got page 1, he's the runt. Page 2, there's a fire, he wakes everyone up. I need one more page now, and I'm not going to actually use text on the top or text on the bottom. There's nothing wrong with those. Those are fantastic. You definitely can use those. You can even come in and center this if you want. There's an alignment button here. You could center the text if you want it centered on the top and bottom. That's fine. I'm actually not going to use those. I want to use this one again where the text is on the left. And because I didn't make a copy ahead of time, I do need to make a copy now. So I'm going to duplicate this slide. So I'm going to come here and say duplicate slide. So I've got 2 copies of the same slide. And then I'm going to simply just drag it down so that it's after the fire slide. So there's the first page, second page, third page. But this time I'm going to change the text because I don't want to really duplicate it. I mean, I'm duplicating the slide so that I can save myself a little time, but the text is going to be different. So let me come in here and paste in the correct text, which is the runt saved the family and was the hero. And of course, I don't need all these other dogs. We'll get rid of those. I just need the little doggy himself. I can make him a little bit bigger since we're focusing on him this time. And then if I want this to be really cool, maybe I want like a starburst or something behind him, like, hey, he's the hero. So I could go up to the insert menu. And remember, we're talking about shapes. Yeah, you can do that. You can insert all kinds of shapes. There's arrows, there's call outs. I'm going to use this call out here that looks like a starburst. So I'm going to grab this starburst and I'm going to put this cool starburst here. I'm going to go up to my paint can, colored in yellow. And now it's in front of the dog. Oh no, well, that's no problem. You can use the arrange button, which gives you the order option to send things to the back. So I'm going to click on the starburst. I'm going to go to arrange, order, and send to back. Boink, and that puts it behind the doggy. Excellent. Now, again, you don't have to do any of that, just showing you a couple of cool little tricks and tips that you can do in slides. So there we go. We've got our title page or cover page. We've got the first page, the second page with the fire, and the fact that he saved the family and he's the hero. And that's the body of the story. Again, I told you it'd be a very, very simple one. You guys certainly will have students making much larger stories than that, but that's the idea, which means I don't need this slide with the text on the top, so let's delete that. And I don't need this slide with text on the bottom, so let's delete that. All I now need is the about the author slide, which is no problem. I've already got this typed up again to save us time today. Let me go ahead and I'll just paste this in. And that's a little large, so let's drop this down a little smaller so that it fits, and make the about the author maybe bold or something like that. Excellent. And then I've got a picture of myself, and I'll go ahead and just paste that in. But again, you could add that picture any way you want. You could, insert it from your drive if you've got it saved, or just use the webcam. Kids, perfect time to use that webcam. Go to insert, image, take a snapshot, boom, take a picture, and right there they go. They can add themselves in there with no problem at all. Shrink it up a little bit, and they've got their author picture. And of course, I can again change this if I want this to be a different color. I can match it to the color of the first one if I wanted. Don't click on the text, click on the box. I could change this to that dark brown, change the line to the dark brown, change the text to white if I wanted to. Again, you don't have to, but you certainly could if you want it to match the beginning of the book with the end of the book. And that's it. We have made our story. Okay. So now we still got a few more things to talk about, but that's the gist of it. So basically the gist is you start with, a template. So you can use my template or one you find somewhere else or create from scratch, set your page, create the cover page, add your images, change the font, add more pages. And like we said, duplicate them as needed, do your back cover. And really the only thing left is if you want transitions, I've already put them into the slideshow. So if you're using my template, they're already there. If you're not, you just go to slide and then change transition. And it lets you put in the transition so they move from right to left. So you just go up to slide and change transition. Now, I've already done this in the template, so you don't have to do it. It's already there. Slide from right. But if you haven't done that, you can choose here what you want. Slide from left, slide from right, click apply to all slides, and then that applies to all of your slides. So when it does run, each slide will move from right to left. All right, cool. All right, guys. We're now going to talk about, now that we're done making our book, how do we share it with others? How do we get it out to the rest of the world? Because again, this is a key element, and I don't want us to forget about this. We definitely want our students to be writers. We want them to write, to be creative, but we don't want to stop just there and have them turn something in to us as the teachers. We grade it, give it back to them, and that's great, but it gets hung up on their fridge at home, and that's the end of it. And we do that at my house. We've actually got, instead of a fridge, I've got 3 boys. So the fridge isn't big enough. I actually have 2 of those long, I don't know what they are. I got them from IKEA. They're those long wires that you put on the wall, and we hang all of their, their school work from these 2 giant wires in our craft room. So, and that's great. I love that. But it doesn't have to stop there. You can share things with a broader audience, since it's digital. You could do a lot of things with it. Put it online so other people could see it, other students, other schools, community members, parents, relatives, whoever it might be, giving the students a broader, more authentic audience for what they've created. So let's talk about a couple of ways to do this. 3 of them are publishing to the web, saving as a PDF, or printing. And then there's a 4th thing we're going to do at the very, very tail end of this. So don't go anywhere. If we run over just a little bit, it will be worth it. You'll want to see the final thing. Okay. So let's talk about these 3 options of how you can share out. First of all, publishing to the web. Now, what's that all about? Well, if you want other people to view the storybook live online, the best way to do that is to do what's called publishing to the web. Now, you may say, hold on, Eric. I know Google Docs and I know Google Slides, and I know if I want people to view this online, all I have to do is click the big blue share button. Well, you are right. You can do that. If I come up here and click the big blue share button, I could say, let's get a shareable link so anybody who wants to can see the slideshow. I could do that. Click get a shareable link. I could set the settings to say anybody at all can view it, and I could get this shareable link. Here's the problem, guys. This link, it's probably not really what you want to give people in this case, and here's why. If I go to the share button and I get the shareable link and I copy that link and I give it to somebody, do you know what they actually see here? I'll show you. Let me open up an incognito window and I'll show you. So here I am in an incognito window where I am not logged in. This is just a blank incognito window. If I go to that link, yes, I can see this shared storybook, but you know what? I'm not seeing it in presentation mode. I'm seeing it here with each of the pages down the side. Now you say, well, Eric, that's not a big deal. And maybe it's not, but that's probably not what you were intending. You probably were thinking they should click a link and boom, it covers the whole screen and it slides with the transitions. They're just viewing it sort of like in edit mode, but without edit rights. Okay. Now, yes, they can click the present button and they can present it, but they have to know that. If they don't know to click the present button, they're never going to get it to go into presentation mode. Okay. So let's come back here and show you a different way to do this. Instead of using the share button up here, what you use is what's called publishing to the web. You click on File and then Publish to the web. And then that gives you a link that if you share that link with others, it will open up in full screen presentation mode. It won't be in that edit mode. So let's do that. Let's come to my slideshow. Let's click File and Publish to the web. When I do that, it says, are you sure you want to do this? I hit the big blue publish button, give it permission, and I get a new link, not the same as the link we just saw. Come in and copy that link. And now if I give people that link, watch what happens. Let me go to an incognito window. Let me paste that in. And now, look at that. They're getting the story in full screen presentation mode. So now they can scroll through the story and read it the way I intended it to be read. All right. So that's one option. That's publishing to the web. What other options do you have? Well, it doesn't have to, and I think being online is awesome. Being online with the scrolling pages, that's pretty cool. But it doesn't have to be. You could just save it as a PDF because most anybody can open up a PDF. And so you could make it into a PDF, take that PDF and post that online or email that to people or make that available to them. I mean, obviously we can do the same with the link from publishing to the web, but PDFs can be an option as well. So how do you do that? Well, basically File, Download as PDF document. So if you want to make a PDF out of your story, no problem. Click File, Download as PDF. And when you do, it's going to download a PDF version of it. And when the PDF version is downloaded, let's open it up and see what it looks like. And there we go. And so there's page 1, there's page 2, page 3, page 4, and page 5 as a nice PDF. So very easy to turn that into a PDF if you want. All right, one more option. How about printing? You say, well, Eric, we're trying to go digital and not print. Well, then I applaud you. And that is fantastic. But if for any reason you do decide that you do want to print this, very easy to do. You simply go to File, Print Preview and Settings, and then Print. So let me show you that. Go to File, and then go down to Print, Settings, and Preview. Okay, give a click on that. It'll open up a screen where it shows you what this is going to look like when you go to print it. Looks good to me. And at that point, you would just go to the print button up here in the menu. Now, at that point, you have to choose your printer. Make sure you choose color rather than black and white. Make sure you choose the right paper size, all that kind of stuff. So you'd have to, make sure you make the right choices for your printing when you go to print. But you could do it two-sided, make it actually a book, and then maybe staple it together along the edge. And hey, you got your physical book now. You've actually made a physical storybook. Put them in the classroom. Put them in the reading corner of the classroom. Student-made books. Wouldn't that be awesome? What a neat way to do that. When you're done in the print window, there's a close preview button on the left. Takes you right back to where you started. All right, guys, we are doing good. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is a question that we get all the time when it comes to. Oh, Anthony's coming in. Do we have any quick questions yet,
yes,
Anthony?
If you have an animated GIF in a file,
Yep.
Can you publish that?
Can you have animated images? You absolutely can. There's no problem with that at all.
You just can't create a PDF.
You just can't put into a format like you can make a PDF out of it, but it's not going to be animated in the PDF. And you could print it, and of course, it's not going to move on the paper because this is not Harry Potter where they have moving newspapers. So if you do use an animated image, which I did not even talk about, but it's a wonderful thing. You could have animations, animated GIFs, or GIFs, you choose which way you want to say it. You are right. That would work perfectly fine in publishing to the web. It would just be static when you print it or make a PDF.
When you publish to the web, can you prevent a copy from being made as you can when you're sharing?
Can you prevent a copy being made? That is a good question. I would imagine the answer is going to be yes, as long as, I better make sure the settings are here. If I go to the sharing settings, and well, no, let me see, advanced. Here we go, advanced. If I go, good question, Anthony. I don't know. This is Eric poking a stick at it. Yeah, if you don't know something in technology, you poke a stick at it and you find out if it works. So if I go to the share button and I go down to advanced, there is an option that says disable options to download, print, and copy for commenters and viewers. If I do that and I save it, I wonder if this will work. So let's see. I don't know. Let's try it. I'm disabling the option to download, print, and copy. Again, that's from the share button. It's under advanced, and it's right at the bottom there. Because I've done that, does that affect publishing? I don't know. Let me go back to publish to the web. And let me copy that again. Let me copy that link. I don't know. We're going to find out here in just a second. I do not know. So I'm copying that. And now I'm going to go back to my incognito. Oh, I can't do incognito because he won't know how to make a copy. I got to grab a different window. Let me grab a different account here. Let me grab, I don't know if I've even got another good example. I'll just grab my personal account and see if I can use it there. So here I am viewing it in the published version. To make a copy, I typically go down to my little gear here and I say open editor. And if I open the editor, if I'm able to make a copy, now will be the time. Let's see, it says view only, file, make a copy is grayed out. So that advanced setting does carry through. So if you do that, people can still open the editor if they want. They can go to the little gear and they can open the editor, but they will not be able to make a copy because, again, we turned that off. That's in the sharing settings under sharing, advanced, and disabling the copy feature. Good question, folks. I love it. All right, back to our last section, which I promised you would be really cool. Thank you for bringing those questions in, Anthony. I appreciate that very much. So we get asked a lot of times, can you add narration to a Google slideshow, which you can do in PowerPoint? Well, the short answer is no. There is nothing built into Google Slides that allows narration. That doesn't stop us though. We can find ways to do this. Here's the idea. Wouldn't it be awesome if the student could show their book, slide through page by page by page, and then narrate it, read the story, and then have that recorded somehow? Well, my suggestion for that is a tool called Screencastify. Screencastify is a Chrome web extension. So you're going to want to be using Google Chrome for your Mac or your PC, or Chrome on your Chromebook. Either way is fine. Mac, PC, Chromebook, as long as you're using the Chrome browser. What this does is it is a video recording tool that records your screen, so it can record the book as you scroll through the book. It records your webcam if you want it to. So you could have in the very bottom right-hand corner the kid's face down there as the student is reading their book. You don't have to. You can turn that off if you want, but it will record the whole screen. It will optionally record the webcam if you want, and then it records their voice, okay? So they can be reading the book. For free, it'll record up to 10 minutes. So Screencastify, there's a paid version if you want more than 10 minutes, but the free version up to 10 minutes. Well, I doubt most of your students are going to be writing stories longer than 10 minutes, so that should work for most of these without any problem. And when you're done, it saves the video right to your Google Drive. So you don't have to worry about where does it go. It can save right to the drive. And once it's in your drive, of course, you can share it. They can share it with you as the teacher. They can turn it in as a link through Google Classroom. Anything like that is great. So once it's in Drive, boom, you've got it, and you can do a ton of stuff with it. So how does it work? Well, first of all, you've got to install it. I've already got it installed, but if you've never installed it, the link to Screencastify I've got in the slideshow, or you can just go to the Chrome Web Store and just type in Screencastify. So the Chrome Web Store at chrome.google.com/webstore. And if you type in Screencastify, it'll come right up. Okay, so with Screencastify, you would hit the button to install it. There's like a plus button or plus free button to install it. I've already got it installed, so I don't have to install it. But if you haven't, you'll go through and install Screencastify. Now, the very first time you use it, it's going to ask for a bunch of permissions. That's perfectly fine. Just say yes, 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 yes. Tell it it's okay to use your microphone. It's okay to use your camera, and tell it that it's okay to save it to Drive. So you want to do those things. Okay to the camera, okay to the microphone, and okay to save it to your Drive. So there is a one-time setup. And remember, this is a Chrome extension, which means it's a one-time installation. You only have to install it once, and then it follows the user everywhere they go. It's not getting installed on your computer, it's getting installed on your account. Install it once, and it follows you everywhere. Because I've got it installed, it's up here in the very, very top right-hand corner. That's where extensions go. This little film strip icon way in the top right, that's Screencastify, because I've got it installed. So how does it work? Well, I'm going to do it real quick. I'll actually run through and show it to you, but basically you click the little Screencastify button. You tell it to record just the tab that has your slideshow. You don't need the whole desktop. Just the tab is fine. Now, if you do the whole desktop, you'll get all the other stuff on the screen too. You just want the tab with the book in it. Select your microphone if it doesn't pick it up automatically. Choose whether or not you want to embed the webcam, and then hit the Start Record button. And I'm going to do that here in a moment to show you what that looks like. At that point, click through the slideshow, narrate the story. When you're all done, click the extension again and say stop, and it'll stop recording. When it's all done, it will save automatically to Google Drive. Again, if you set the first time you install it, you've got to tell it it's okay to save to Google Drive. If you've done that, it'll save it to Drive, and you got it. You can share it. You can submit it through Classroom. You've got it. It's all done. So let's try it out. Let's go ahead and let me grab my published link, because I want to grab my published link. Let me copy the published link, because that's what I got to scroll through. Let me paste in my published link, and now my story is ready to slide through. Now, I'm not really going to read the whole story. I'll just do a little blah, 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 so you see how this works. All I do is come up to Screencastify, give it a click, and when it pops down, I'm going to record just the tab, not the whole desktop, just the tab. It's already figured out my microphone because I can see the colors going up and down. It can hear me. And I'm going to go ahead and embed my face. You don't have to. If you uncheck that, that's fine. You can uncheck embedding the camera, because sometimes that could get in the way of the words. So you just kind of have to decide if you want that or not. And that's it. I'm going to hit start recording, and it's just going to start. So start recording. It is now recording. If you don't want these little menus down here, you can close out of those. You can hide the tools. If not, it's okay. You can leave them there. But basically, as I click through, I can read. So there once was a litter of puppies, and so on. So the student could read their story page by page by page, keep reading their story, And, if you want them to tell about themselves or anything else, all of that could be done being narrated by the student. When they're done, they come back up to the Screencastify button, give it a click, and there'll be the option to stop. Once you hit stop, that's it. It now takes me to a screen where there I can now see it. So there's my recording. See, there's my face down in the bottom there. This is the recording, not me live, obviously. And so here you're going to watch me as I start clicking through. And if it was me, the student, talking, you would now hear me narrating the story as it clicks through page by page by page. Now you see there it covered up some of the text. So, you got to decide if you want that, or just tell them don't put stuff in the bottom. Don't put stuff in the very bottom right, if you want that. And that's it. It's all done and recorded, and it's saved to my drive. So up here in the top right, you see it's been saved to my drive, and right there's a link. I can just click the link and give it, and there it says the link has been copied. And so as simple as that, that link has been copied. I could share that link with somebody. I could go to Google Classroom if I'm a student, and I could turn in the assignment by pasting that link in to submit it to the teacher. And as simple as that, you could narrate your story. Wow, we made it. Good stuff. All right. So as we start to wrap up here, I'm going to ask Anthony if there are any other questions. And I'm also going to check over here in my Q&A doc. And I'm not seeing anything that Anthony hasn't answered, but I'm going to give him a moment to see. Are we good? Anything else, Anthony?
Can they add the Castify video to the original slideshow?
Could you put the Screencastify video in the slideshow? Absolutely. Now, that'd be a little interesting, to have the slideshow and also have the recording of it, but sure thing. It has to be on YouTube, though. The only thing about slides is if you're in Google Slides and you go to insert a video, that's no problem. You can insert videos, but they have to be stored on YouTube, so you'd have to have the YouTube link. Now, if that scares you, don't panic. You as a teacher could have a YouTube channel. You could upload the students' videos right to YouTube. They don't have to be public. There's actually 3 options: private, public, and unlisted. I would suggest making your video unlisted, which means nobody can stumble upon it. They can't search for it. They have to have the link. That way it would only show up as the link, being put here, and then it would embed that video right into the slideshow. So you could do that, certainly. Obviously, we don't have time to go through creating a YouTube channel and all that stuff today. That'll be another webinar some other time, but great question.
And they may want to put that right at the beginning so the student has a choice of either viewing the slideshow or having the slideshow presented to them.
Yep. Or they could have a link to the slideshow and a link to the video separate as well. That would work fine too. And the video could still be on Drive. You do not have to put the video on YouTube just to give the link to somebody. It will play from Google Drive with no problem. Well, guys, fantastic. As we wrap up, I just want to remind you again that all of the resources for this session today can be found at tiny.cc/SPARC237, SPARCC 237, SPARC 237. There you'll find this page, which has the live video now, which will be the recorded video for the session, so you can watch this again if you missed something, or tell other people about it. Send this link off to others, and anybody can watch it. These webinars are free for anybody to view. Below there, of course, all the resources, the template, the samples, slideshow help guide, the evaluation. Again, love to get your feedback on these. Please take a moment to fill that out. And then get yourself a certificate. Take the quiz at the very bottom to get a 1-hour certificate of attendance for watching this. While you're at the website, again, do check out our upcoming webinars. Check out our past recorded webinars, tons of them there. Sign up for the newsletter, and feel free to contact us if you have any questions. Hey, Anthony's picture showed up. Yay, there it is. All right. So again, thank you guys so very much for being with us today. We really appreciate that and hope to see you again over the coming weeks for more educational technology webinars. Take care.